Hi, it's Alaska Granny. Perhaps if you've been watching any of the news, you might be wondering, are we in SHTF? Some of the news is so gloom and doom, perilous times, world unrest. There's just so many things that seem to be frightening. It could lead you to believe that we might be on the brink of SHTF. What we need to do is assess the situation and look for the actual facts. Don't just look at the rhetoric or people's alarmist opinions. Even be aware of editorial type information that is spreading someone's point of view rather than just the facts. So if you want to decide if we're actually in an SHTF situation, you need to assess the situation and decide for yourself. What are the threats? Who is affected? Where is it safe? How does it apply to me? What can I do to keep myself safer? Then be aware of the most likely threats where you are. If you live where there might be storms that would knock out your power, what can you do if there's a power failure? Do you have a way to light your home? Do you have a way to cook some food? Do you have a way to keep warm if it's still cold, say at night? Do you have a way to stay dry and safe? Then you need to make sure that you have those supplies that would allow you to, say, light a candle. You would need some candles and some matches. Perhaps you want things like oil lamps, then you need fuel and wicks. If you want to use some kind of a alternate cook stove in your home, or perhaps a portable heater of some type, then you'll also want a fire extinguisher. You always want to make sure that you have working smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors. It's a few dollars that can actually save the lives of everyone in your family. Be aware though that they do have an expiration date. They only last about 10 years. So make sure that you have one that's up to date, that is working, and never allow anyone to rob the batteries out of your smoke alarms. Perhaps you're in some kind of a dangerous situation and you need to determine, where is it safe? Is it safe to stay in your home? Or is there an imminent threat and you need to evacuate from your home? Where would you go? How would you get there? What do you need to take with you? And you always want to make sure that you make your home as safe as possible. Be sure that you lock your windows and doors. Same thing when you go in your car. Keep the doors and windows locked. If you look at some of, for example, the carjacking, it's people, they just run up and open the door. If your door is locked, that can't happen. They'll move on to someone else. It's the same thing with prowlers in your neighborhood. They try the doors and windows, and if your house is locked up, they move on to the next house. And that's why sometimes you'll even read where, say, 3 homes on one street were burgled all in one night. Doors and windows were left unlocked, and they left it open for someone to get in. So also make sure that you keep things like ladders and tools picked up so that you don't leave someone the implements to provide access into your home. You also want to make sure that you have some outdoor lights for security. It's simple these days to get a few solar lights that add some security and safety, that if there's something going around, you can look out and see it and you aren't just wondering, what was that weird noise? Was that a shadow that moved? Maybe it's just a moose coming around across your front lawn. But you'll know what it is and then you won't be afraid.
Oh, it's a moose. Oh man, a baby. Shh. Teddy, stop. Shh.
Then let's just look at some of the predictions about food. We know there are food shortages. We know that the food supply has been impacted so many ways because of unrest in certain countries. There's war in other countries. There are political upheavals. There are embargoes and exporting bans that are leading to supply chain issues. So you need to figure out, how can you have enough food? Don't let the rising prices deter you, because they're going to continue to go up. If you buy extras today, then you have those bargain priced foods going forward that can help feed you when foods become unavailable, higher priced, or just simply out of your reach because you can't afford the prices that they become. So start a nice stockpile of canned and packaged foods. If you have one on your list, buy 2. Then you have 1 to use, 1 to put away. Once you have lots of canned foods and packaged foods, simple to open and eat, easy to prepare meals, get some of the longest lasting dried foods. rice, beans, pasta, oatmeal. There's all kinds of dried foods that you can put in an airtight container that can last for 30 years. And if you don't particularly want to start eating rice and beans, you don't necessarily have to, because they're going to be safe and in your stockpile for up to 30 years as long as you store them airtight, cool, dark, and dry. Then you have those things in a real emergency if you need them. It's better if you use them along the way so that you're used to eating some of those foods and you know how to use them. But if you just really don't want to, it doesn't mean you shouldn't be a prepper. It still means you should get those foods and have them, just in case the day comes when you'll be happy to use them. Think about also getting some dehydrated foods. It's easy if you have a dehydrator to dehydrate foods from, say, your garden, extra produce from the grocery store or a farmer's market, berries that you pick on a hike in the woods. It's easy to dehydrate foods and it's not very expensive. But you can also buy foods that are already dehydrated. And some of those are nice because then they can last for many, many years. You have that extra food set aside. But you also need to plan, just like the dried foods, the dehydrated foods are going to require water. We need water every day anyway, but then you're going to have to supply extra water for the cooking of those foods. Nobody can store enough food for an entire lifetime, so plan on trying to grow some foods. Learn to sprout some things on your kitchen counter. Grow some herbs on your windowsill. Plant a salad garden in a pot on your patio or your balcony. Plant a garden in your flower bed. Any small amount of food that you grow helps provide meals for you and your family into the future. Start small, try a little, add a little more to your repertoire, and pretty soon you'll find that you're pretty successful at growing some of the foods that you count on having. When you see seeds in the store, make sure that you get some. A few months ago when I was in the lower 48, they had them at Dollar Tree, 4 packs for $1. They just recently had some at the Walmart where I live in Alaska, still less than $2, and they had a huge variety. I suppose the seeds are still available here because it's not quite planting time yet. It won't be very long until the soil will be worked and gardens are going to get planted. Then again, as you learn to produce food, learn to store your food, learn to pickle, can, freeze, harvest food, learn how to preserve it all different ways so that you can make your food last as long as possible. The more ways we learn to provide for ourselves and use the things we have, the better off we're going to be. So try to become as self-sufficient as possible. Then store up as much water as you can. We know we need to store at least 1 gallon per person per day, simply for drinking, preparing our food, and very little hygiene and washing. So try to store as much as you can. Figure out ways you can clean out an empty pop bottle, fill it up with water, stick it under the sink even. Get some larger containers and fill those up. But know that the larger the container, the heavier it is. So make sure that you know where you want it before you fill it up, because some of them become so heavy you can't move them once they're full, and that would be a real dilemma that you don't want to have to deal with when you could have planned ahead. Get some type of a water filter so that you can purify water that you need to. What if the water stops running in your home and you then need to source wild water? You need to know how to purify and sanitize that water to make sure that it's safe to drink and use in cooking and preparation of your food. Then think about all of the things that keep your life running smoothly from day to day. Everything you use when you wash your hair, wash your body, clean your house, wash your dishes. Decide how many of those articles are critical to keeping your life running smoothly, and then get a nice stockpile of that as well. If you're planning on gardening, get a few garden tools. If you're planning on repairing things, get a few hand tools, hammers, screwdrivers, pliers, anything that can help you maintain the things you have around your home to keep your life running smoothly. That's the whole point of prepping, is to be able to take care of business. Anything that happens could be your responsibility. So the more ways you know how to figure out how to take care of yourself, the smoother your life is going to be. I think prepping is lifestyle insurance. I want every day to be as smooth as possible. Is every day going to be perfect? No, but I have ideas, tools, supplies, so that I can at least attempt to solve the problems, figure out ways to make that day get back on track. And so then if I can't, guess what? That's when I need to have some backup plans of who can I call and where can I go for help. And that's what you want to do for yourself as well. Learn to do as many things as you can, have the things you need, and then figure out what to do next. So if you just think about what's most likely to happen where you are, then you'll realize, are we in SHTF? Maybe someone is, but it may not be you. And so it's still a great idea to be aware of what's going on, to be able to recognize how dire the consequences are. And if SHTF does come to you, you're going to have some great ideas on how to make the best of it. Leave us a comment. What are some supplies or items or thoughts that you would want us to know about how to deal with the possibility that SHTF is going to happen to us before we know it? Who knows? If you enjoyed my video, I hope you'll share it with someone else you think might like it. Please subscribe to the Alaska Granny channel.